I wanted to do a quick video about the new knock-on back strap, which is a tension-activated wrist release. There's some frequently asked questions that are already coming in for those of you lucky enough to be part of this very first shipment. This is a release I'm certain is going to change the market, and it really is an awesome design, and some of these questions are important for everybody to hear. One of those questions was to talk a little bit more about the Boa system, which is on the wrist strap that we have, and is that Boa repeatable? Is it easy to use? And is it durable? Durability, absolutely. This is a great system that's used on snowboarding boots, super high-end running shoes, cycling shoes. What's awesome about the system is just how repeatable and durable it is. If you want to tighten it down, all you have to do is push down on the Boa and just tighten that strap to the exact micro adjustment that you want for that tension. This is perfect depending on if you have clothing that is an underlayer, or if you have a glove and you decide to go over the glove. You really do have the ability for micro adjustability rather than just choosing one D-loop or also having to tear Velcro and then replace the Velcro back on. So this is an awesome system. Now the next thing is, will you have to adjust your anchor position or your D-loop or peep height for a wrist release like the back strap? So for me personally, I was able to utilize my exact same peep height and the same loop length because of how I coach and how I teach to coach a handheld releases, which is what I typically used. So before, I would always anchor with the separation between my index finger and middle finger right on my jawline. Now with the wrist strap, I actually keep my hand pretty flat like this. I put my index knuckle at the base of my earlobe, and I actually relax my thumb just a little bit, and my thumb is right under my jawline. And when I'm in that position, my peep height is still exactly where it is with my handheld releases. Now, if you feel like, depending on how long you've adjusted the cord on the back strap, that you might feel like you could be a little bit longer, you could easily just shorten your D-loop a little bit, which is also going to be fine because with a wrist release like this, you're not inverting your hand like you would with a handheld release. So you don't have to worry about that string torque or the loop torque. So you can shorten that D-loop just a little bit so that you can still easily load this open jaw onto that. Now another question is about the adjustability of the release itself. So the back strap has the same internal adjustability system that the new Silverback Plus series releases has. And what's awesome about this new system is that one spring allows for an adjustment anywhere from 10 to 40 pounds for activation without having to replace springs like we did on pre-existing Silverbacks. So with this release, one turn does a lot, and you have the ability for a lot more micro adjustability with this set screw. So one full turn on this adjustment is going to change your poundage range of the tension activation to about 10 pounds, and that could vary anywhere from 9 to 12 pounds depending on how that spring's loaded. But if you put one full turn on, you are going to change that activation weight approximately 10 pounds. Whereas on some of the older Silverbacks or some of the older Evolution style releases, that one full turn would only move it maybe a fraction of a pound or up to a pound. So you have very fine adjustment, and a little bit of turn will go a long way. Now another question, now that I'm talking about the Silverback, is which release is going to be better for me, either Silverback Plus or a back strap if I'm using tension activation? Now that's really going to come down to you, the archer, and what your preference is. I can tell you that for the longest time, I've really preferred handheld releases. I love handhelds, and I'm super comfortable with a Silverback release. However, There are a lot of you out there that I know really prefer a wrist strap, and that is the main reason why the back strap has been brought to the market, because there are a lot of people that prefer the release always being connected to them during the entire time of shooting or hunting. Now, for me personally, I'll probably do a pretty good job of changing back and forth between the two so I can actively coach and give pointers and videos on both styles. However, my personal style still is a handheld release because I've shot that for so long and I really like having nothing around my hands, and I like being able to have total control of just grabbing the release, loading it on a D-loop, and I feel really good about my anchor position and comfort with a handheld release. However, the more that I shoot this back strap, because it is tension activated and I get the same shot feel and an unanticipated shot process, I am really growing fond of the back strap the more that I shoot it. Now, another question that's out there is, will this back strap fit smaller archers, youth, or women? And I can tell you that my wife Sharon has tried it, also a couple other female shooters that we have, and younger adults. And someone as small as a 5 3/4 inch wrist diameter is able to use this release perfectly comfortable. Another question that's out there is, can I let down safely using a back strap? Because this release works, you draw back, you squeeze the trigger, which deactivates the safety, and then you continue to pull until you get that surprise shot. However, if you don't want to shoot, all you have to do is simply let off that trigger and the safety is re-engaged so that you can actually let that bow down. So it's super simple. Now, one of the most common questions I've seen so far is that with the back strap, a lot of you who are getting this but have also shot a handheld release, you're asking, I do have to adjust my sight some because of my new point of impact. And absolutely, that's going to happen. For me personally, with the wrist strap release, I do hit to the left more than I do with my handheld releases. So what you have to do is treat any type of release just like you would sighting in with a certain type of broadhead or a certain type of arrow shaft that you've chose. Just simply adjust your sight so that your point of impact is correct depending on that new device, and you're good to go. Keep in mind, I have a common saying that I refer to a lot in archery, and that is, anytime you change anything, you change everything. So because you've went from a handheld release, which has a slightly different position on your face or different pressure, also you're inverting, and the jaws open in a different fashion than this wrist strap release, then yes, you will have a slightly different point of impact. What I would recommend you doing is either take a small marker pen and mark exactly where your sight is with your pre-existing release, and go ahead and make your new adjustment to sight in, and you can make a new mark so that you know where you hit with the wrist strap versus that handheld release that you've had previously. Or you can simply count the clicks if you have a micro adjustable sight. For example, for me, I know that if I'm switching from my knock to it to a back strap, it's about 10 clicks to the left. So I have that written down. I simply move my sight the 10 clicks with the micro adjustability, and I'm able to go right back at it with my knock to it release. So it works really good. Now, the last thing that I've been asked is, sometimes if you squeeze your trigger to deactivate the safety and you pull through and fire your shot, sometimes when you let down, you'll notice that this back strap has already reloaded itself back shut. And people ask the question, is that common? Because in the video, I show you to properly close the release. You do have to squeeze the trigger, close the release, let off the trigger, and it's ready to operate again. Now, depending on how hard you're pulling through and how hard that jaw is opening and coming back closed before you let your finger off the safety, it could reload itself. And the same is true with a silverback or even a too smooth style hinge release. It is common for some releases, depending on how you pull through and naturally let off the safety or reset your hand, for a release to be able to reload itself. So hopefully these FAQs help you out and you get along great with the new knock-on back strap.